Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Men's Golf Through the Decades. Tonight we have the decade of the 1960s. We've got an outstanding group of alumni and our former coach of the golf program, one of many coaches in the program, Brad Tufts, is joining us. He joins Mike Binney, our current head coach, and one of our current student athletes, Jack Gardner. Jack is a sophomore from San Ramon, California, and we thank him for being on the call tonight. My name's Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor for tonight's event. Geisinger has done a great job throughout the pandemic. And as always, they do a great job with our student athletes at Bucknell day in and day out. So without any further ado, let me introduce our guest. As I mentioned, we have a great group. Our first guest from the class of 1961 is Bob Etzweiler. Bob was a three-year letter winner and the co-captain in both 1960 and 1961. He held the number one or number two position on teams that won 3 straight Middle Atlantic Conference titles. He had a career dual match record in match play of 23, 10, and 1, and was 18, 3, and 1 against MAC opponents. He was the MAC champion and player of the year in 1959. A sidebar to that, he was one of just a few golfers without a caddy because they ran out of the caddies right before he teed off at that event. He tied for second at the MAC championship in 1960 and placed fifth in 1961. Bob qualified for the NCAA individual championship in 1961 and was one of only 5 Eastern players in the match play field of 64. He was part of the 61 squad that competed at the NCAA championship at Purdue University, and Bob was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2003. Our next guest from the class of 1967 is Lowell Watson. He was a 3-year letter winner and the team captain in 1967. He had a career dual match record in match play of 22 and 17, and his highest finish at a MAC championship was tied for 12th at the 1965 MAC championship event. Our next guest from the class of 1968 is George Benson. George was a 3-year letter winner, and he had a career dual match record in match play of 18, 9, and 1. Our next guest, also from the class of 1968, is Bob Miller. Bob was also a 3-year letter winner, and he had a career dual match record in match play of 16 and 9. And our final guest, who really needs no introduction, is Brad Tufts. Brad served the Bucknell Athletic Department for over 30 years as either coach or administrator. He was the men's golf coach from 1967 to 75, and he led his teams to Middle Atlantic Conference championships in both 1967 and 1973. His men's teams posted an impressive 80 and 38 dual match record. Tufts became the first ever coach of the Bucknell women's golf program in 1998 and retired from coaching and Bucknell following the 2000 spring season. He served in various administrative roles, including sports information director, associate director of public relations, director of information services, assistant and associate director of athletics, and interim director of athletics as well. He continues to serve to this day on the Hall of Fame selection committee at Bucknell, and Brad was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2000. So Coach Binney, we've got a great group. I'm going to turn it over to you and let's have some fun.
Okay. All right, we're going to get a little more personal now and just take it down a notch. So, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 players, and I'm not sure who the Bob is on the bottom right. Todd, do you know who that is? Is that no idea?
That's just an extra screen. I think that's just an extra screen.
Okay, and Brad. So we're just going to take I want everybody to take an opportunity and tell us where you've been, an update where where you live, what your career has been. Your family, et cetera, anything personal that you want to share with the group. I just want to kind of get to know everybody a little bit better. I know some of you more than others. If you could just take that opportunity and fill us in. And Brad, you're going to go last, just because we know that you'll top it off. So how about George? I'm just going to kind of do like Hollywood Squares. You guys all remember that. Jack does not, but we all do. And George, you're kind of my first one on the left other than Todd. So you're going to go first. Just fill us in on what's been going on with George Benson since you left Bucknell.
Okay. Well, I had a couple of jobs, first with the Army Security Agency. Then I went on to Bell Telephone Laboratories in New Jersey. And then I went back and got a PhD at the University of Florida, ended up as a professor at the University of Minnesota for about 16 years, then the dean of the business school at Rutgers for 5 years. Then I was recruited to the University of Georgia, dean of the business school at Terry College of Business for about 9 years. Then I was recruited to the College of Charleston, in Charleston, South Carolina, as a president of the College of Charleston. Stepped down from there in 2014. And since then, I've been working on nonprofits and corporate boards, and I do teach one or two classes each year, and still play a lot of golf.
Fantastic. How about you, Lowell? You're taking up the center position. I think was that Paul Wynn? Is that the guy on Hollywood Squares who's always in the middle? So Lowell, you got the middle spot. So go ahead and fill us in on what's been happening with you over the last few decades.
Okay, you're asking me, Lowell?
Yeah, yep, go ahead.
Okay,
Lowell.
great. I'm the one with the hearing aid, so it's the way it goes, right?
Oh, I'm with you.
Anyway, so like I say, we've been married for 48 years. My wife's with Cindy, who Brad knows, and who Etz has met. And by the way, Etz, we did play last fall, and you and I lost to Cindy and Bill Hawley, so we do need a rematch on that one, okay? And play better next time, would you? So anyway, we've been in Maine for 31 years. I have a son, Lowell 3, who's 45, a daughter, Courtney, who's 43. She went to Bucknell, class of 99. We're all pretty competitive skiers, sailors, and golfers. And I imagine, George, you must have done some sailing when you were down in Charleston. My son's got a great friend who was a great sailor there. Anyway, so prior to retirement, my early work was with in the ski business with Rosignol and Fisher Skis, and then went to Vail, Colorado for a couple of years. We don't talk about that one too much, but anyway, then back to the real world with Spalding Sporting Goods as New England rep and sales manager. In '75, Cindy and I founded Action Sports Gear. We made it an international wholesale distributor and importer of ski and golf products and clothing till 2010, when we retired and went to the golf course for 4 or 5 days a week. My golf career since Bucknell has included competing in many amateur events around New England, mostly winning 4 Maine state championships, 2 senior AMs, 1 senior 4-ball, and 1 open mixed championship with Cindy, as well as 10 club championships over the years in Mass, Vermont, Pennsylvania, and Maine. From 2000 to 15, I was on the board of Maine State Golf Association, finishing up as president from 2013 to 15, and driving our Maine State Junior Golf, used to be called the Caddy Scholarship Fund, to over $1 million. So that was an accomplishment that we're pretty proud of in Maine, since we only have about 1 million people in the first place. But these days, I'm just happy to be competitive in open and senior MSGA, weekly state events, playing with Cindy, my son, grandson, and keep shooting my age or better. Personal goal that I reached at 66 and done a few hundred times since.
Yeah,
So
nice.
that's pretty much what we've been doing.
All right, Bob Miller, if you would go next, sir, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, well, I married my 9th grade sweetheart, and we've been married 53 years. And we've had a great experience of life, 6 grandchildren. We live in York with Etzweiler. I see him occasionally. My corporate time, I was with an international company as a corporate officer, and I spent my last 2 years of employment in Germany, where our company had purchased a paper company. So if you have any tea bags in your house, they've been made by them. And I spent 2 years over there and came back and retired in 2001. So I've been playing golf on a retirement basis for a long time. Golfing wise, I've had the privilege of, first of all, we visited Brad when he was down in Hilton Head one time. Great experience and never forget it. And but I've had the opportunity to play a lot of great golf venues. We went to I've been to Scotland 3 times, Ireland, We've been out to Abandoned Dunes in California. It was, the fun thing was I participated on a team of the Pennsylvania State Senior Championship. 4 of us from our club won that about 5 years ago. That was a nice experience to do that. But in my retirement time, I've just spent a lot of time, 2-3 times a week. I play golf, and very enjoyable. And I stay in contact with some of the people. Coach knows Wayne Copes. I spend a lot of time visiting with him. And you somewhere on the line there, you mentioned about who do you admire on the. And Lowell, I got to tell you, you were one of the guys that I did admire. You and Turner, you were senior upperclassmen for us, and always enjoyed being up there with you. And the last thing I'll say is that with George and I were noted as the pitcher and the catcher on the team, right, George? You remember?
I forgot that, so Brad said that, yeah.
And we were either the 3rd, 4th, 5th guy, but Kotz and those people who came in first, and Lowell and them, Turner, they'd always come back and find out how we were doing. So we would always put the final exclamation point on a match, and that's always been memorable to me. So that's it.
All right. And Bob Etzweiler, if you would finish off for the players and let us know how things have been since you left Bucknell those just a few years ago.
Perhaps you got to take yourself off mute.
That was my daughter that has it set up. I wasn't expecting this. I, of course, am still working, as you can see, at our funeral home, which we've had since for almost over 100 years. And I've been a director and owner, and that's what I'm still doing tonight at 81 years old. I've enjoyed golf all my life. I know, of course, everybody from golf, and I remember Brad really in Old Main when I started there as a freshman in my first year. He's been so supportive of golf at Bucknell and of myself, and attending even the NCAAs and sending information, that it's just great to see him today. And this is a surprise because I thought the Zoom was over last week, and I got the call from you just a few minutes ago. So I've enjoyed golf, as I say, all my life, played competitive golf. I've also been very involved with my family who've been involved in tennis all their lives. My daughters and Shannon, my one daughter, played at Penn State, but the connection there is she was a roommate of Tammy. I think it's to Cheney, and also knows Dave, who Tammy is now the tennis coach at Bucknell, and Dave is a football coach there. So we have connections with Bucknell. I've had several opportunities to be at the Hall of Fame meetings, and just enjoy golf forever and participate with everybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Todd, if you're okay with that, I'd like to break and skip down to Jack and kind of mix things up, and just have Jack introduce himself and then ask his questions to kind of get some cross-generational involvement here. And then I'll go back to the questions 2 through 5, if you're okay with that. So Jack, if you would, kind of just you look at, I hope you've done your studying for your final exam here. Questions 1 and 2, if you would kind of formulate that in the best way that you know how, and just ask the group and see what kind of feedback we can get for you as a young aspiring sophomore at Bucknell University. But before, let me belay that. Brad, I apologize. You still have to fill us in on what you've been doing. So we'll go to you, Jack, after Brad.
Let Jack go ahead. Then I'll do it after that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Go ahead, Jack.
So hi guys, my name is Jack. Like you said, like Coach said, I'm a sophomore. I'm from California, majoring in accounting. And I was just wondering what advice you'd give to me or any of my other teammates on making the most of our Bucknell golf experience.
And anybody who wants to add anything.
Let's keep the same order. That way no one's guessing. So let's.
Okay. George, let's start with you.
Well, I think I couldn't quite hear the whole, Jack, repeat the end of it. It's the same thing was written down. This is advice for experience. Say it again.
Yeah, just the whole Bucknell golf experience.
Well, I think one of the things to remember, first of all, you need to keep it balanced. You need to, the education side and then the golf side. This is not what's happening in a lot of the larger universities with football and basketball, where the players turn out to not really be students. You've got an ideal situation at Bucknell where you can be both, and you can do both very well. So I would encourage you to keep that balance. I would also encourage you to understand that you're going to be able to use golf in helping you get a job and helping you keep a job. There are any number of different types, whether you're in sales, whether you're in management, whether you're a leader, whether you're a fundraiser. All of those cases, golf can be a very important tool for you throughout your life. So it's not just something that's going to be fun to do and fun to experience, but I think you can actually make it an important part of your career. So I would encourage you to do that. So, I mean, you want to make sure you put it on your resume. You want them to see that you played golf at Bucknell, that you were a letter winner at Bucknell, that sort of a thing.
Thank you.
Lowell.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'd say is play well, have fun, learn something from every match and round, practice session. Try new things, stuff that you try on the range, you got to take it to the golf course. So take it to the golf course. Don't just do it on the range. And I'd say be part of the team, give advice generously to each other, and above all, beat Colgate every chance you get.
Always.
And Lafayette and Lehigh and Holy Cross.
Well, so Todd, if you want to weigh in when Curtis gets up on this, you want to do that. But while we're waiting for Curtis, Bob Miller, if you could give Jack any piece of advice for his time here at Bucknell.
Sure. I've thought about this, and I would say, Jack, that I would say have fun. Golf, you'll remember back on all the experiences you had and the matches that you won that were unique. Like when I beat the guy at Penn State, that'll always sit in my mind. And the second thing would be the relationships that you're going to build. They're the things that last. Whether you had a bad round or a good match or not, that'll kind of pass, but you will remember Coach. And I've stayed in contact with Brad and have enjoyed every moment of that. The whole experience, and it's a bonus from your Bucknell education. It's the best thing you can have moving out into the world in your career. But just tack on with it the fun experiences that you've had while you were there. And when I say fun experiences, just one last comment I'll make is that Brad probably remember this. I know George will. We were going out to Indiana, University of Pennsylvania, and Kotz and I don't know, I think George was with us. And
I was there.
We were there. and Brad, we took off and before Brad. So we knew Brad was behind us coming in a car. So we stopped at the exit on the turnpike and hit balls across the turnpike while Brad was coming off the exit. So Jack, create fun, have a good time, and with friends.
Mills, I think that was on a trip down to Lehigh or Lafayette, not out to Indiana.
Yeah, or it might have been, and we were on the northeast extension of the turnpike.
That's what it was, George.
I think it was a Colgate trip. It was a trip back from Colgate.
And that was on the way, because we were warming up. That was the idea, to get warmed up on the turnpike. Right. But the best part was we knew you were coming behind us, and you're driving like this, and all of a sudden all the heads are looking at us over here. We're hitting balls on the turnpike.
That's right, George. You got it.
We were driving in station wagons then. We each had a station wagon.
Yeah.
All right, so just Jack, getting us back on. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
Hey, Sears, can't you get hooked up?
While we're waiting for Curtis, Bob Etzweiler, if you could give Jack any advice for his time here at Bucknell, something that you want to add, please go ahead and do.
Well, first, the advice is listen to everything that you've just heard from all of our friends and fellow competitors here and players, because they also encourage lifetime of golf. Your friends play competitive golf, but also just be thankful that you have the opportunity to play a game that you can really play all your life, and support your family. And if you have a family, make sure they get involved in sports, not only golf, but a lot of other sports that go a long way. Bucknell has been a great fundamental, I guess, experience for everyone as you start for a college. And I've enjoyed all my relationships with everybody and all my teammates. You do the same thing.
So Curtis, if you can hear us, could you unmute your screen on the bottom left-hand side? There's a mute button. If you could touch that and then somehow add your audio. There you go. Good to go. And Brad, if you would take it away, give us an update where you've been since. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Sears, welcome to the group. Jack, one thing, another bit of advice. Really appreciate the great practice facility you have.
Definitely.
It's not as good as these guys had, but
Yeah, there you go.
appreciate it.
9 holes.
And find the time to read a couple of the books that I left there. I gave my whole collection, about 225 golf books, to the Bachman Center. Hey, these guys know what I've been doing. I came down here in 2000. I lost Betty in the summer of 2009. Lori and I were married in January of 2014. Couple hip replacements and a shoulder replacement kind of detoured my golf and and I've lost I'm begging for distance someplace. But I should have shot my age years ago. Lowell, that is fantastic what you did. And I think you're the earliest I've heard. Marty Erb, who played for me in 1970, he shot 67 when I think he was 68 or 9. And he just turned 70 and already had broken his age 6 times. So, but you guys are the top ones, and congratulations on all that Maine stuff too. That's the Maine amateurs. That's great. But I'm doing well. I get out about once a week, really. I'll do a little more this winter. The summer heat has just beaten me up, and I begged for 175 yards off the tee now. But
Sounds like you're begging for strokes too.
well, hey, listen, I'm an 8.
He's setting us all up.
I'm playing up front too, but it's good. But anyway, it's been it's really it's great to see you guys, and I'm glad I'm here. And I remember going out when Etz and Kurt and Jerry Lindholm, and it was Bob Shad. Jerry Singer went out to the NCAAs at Purdue in '61. You guys had to drive yourself out, right?
Yeah, you gave us $50, I think 3 or 6 golf balls, and I had to take my own car. And we stopped at Kurt's Wallace and played golf on the way out, and we went a long way for $50.
Yep. You probably stopped in Akron and played at Kurt's place, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, we stopped there.
At
Oh,
Firestone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's good to, I hope he's on. Is he want to connect with us? I haven't talked to Kurt for a long time.
And
that was great. We did it in $50.
Yeah, Harold and I drove out a couple of days later, I know, with Jimmy Prowett, who owned Prowett's men's store in town. George remembers him. Kurt was our entrant in the long drive contest, right?
He probably was. No one else could even come close.
And then I don't know if that's you guys know. In those days, the NCAA's the team championship was determined in 2 rounds of stroke play, and I think Purdue won it that year on their home course. And Nicholas played, and Davis Love Jr. They were paired together in the qualifying, and Bob made match play, which was very commendable. 64-man match play.
but everybody followed me around. They wanted me not to do really well so they could get going and get home. But they all supported each other. We had a lot of fun.
Hey, Etz, Bob Shad's wife passed away about a month and a half ago.
I was not aware of that. I had kept in touch with Bob.
I happened to see a line.
Wow.
They lived up on Dataw, just north of here. I haven't seen either one of them in the 20 years I've been here, but I saw a line just in a list, an obituary list in the local paper, but I guess beginning of October.
Yeah, my brother-in-law lived in Dataw for several years, so I would see Bob.
Uh-huh.
And I was not aware of that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. You guys, Bob Shad was a classmate of Etz's and also a great soccer player.
Absolutely. And a good golfer too.
So just jumping back to Curtis. Curtis, if you can hear us, we can't see you, but we can see your icon is up. If you would fill us in on just in general, what you've been up to since you left Bucknell, your job, your career, your family, just catch us all up to what you've been up to in the intervening years since leaving Bucknell.
All right. Well, basically, after playing the NCAAs in 62 or 61, I realized that I wasn't really very good. So I was a pre-med major at Bucknell, so ended up going to University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. Spent 2 years in the Air Force in Vietnam, and then I went to Syracuse, New York, and was a resident in orthopedic surgery for 4 years there. Moved to Roanoke, Virginia, and practiced there for 30 years. And now I'm actually, this is the first year I haven't worked. I actually worked up to last year. I was working out in Nevada and Louisiana as a kind of an itinerant traveling orthopedic surgeon. But I specialize in knee replacements. Did a bunch of hip replacements too, but really decided finally at age 80 I should probably quit doing surgery. So I stopped, and I live in Debadeau, which is in Georgetown, South Carolina. I've seen a lot of the Bucknell guys here, but none of the golfers have ever stopped by here. And I want to say one thing: I still have the program from the 61 tournament at Purdue, and I'm going to bring that up and give that to you, so you can maybe frame it up and put it in the golf area, because it's kind of interesting to look at, to see all the guys who played on the tour. And there was a crazy kind of weather out there. There was terrible winds, especially the second day. And there was a guy from Houston that, of course, they were favored to win. He had won the match play 2 years, and he didn't even qualify for the match play.
That was Richard Crawford, right?
Yeah, Richard Crawford. Now, the thing I remember is I was actually playing very well the first day. I was about 3 or 4 over going into the 17th hole, and they put the dang pin on a point. I can't believe anybody would have put the pin there, but they did. I 3-putted that, and I got on 18, and I had about 200 yards into the green. It was blowing like crazy. I pulled out a 3-wood, and just as I hit it, the wind was gone, and I landed the ball on top of the clubhouse. So that was the end of that. And Bob will remember, we kind of traipsed around from one place to another because of where everybody lived. Jerry Singer lived up in New York, and then Bob Shad in Philadelphia, Bob in Lancaster area, and then me in Ohio. And then that was one shot to get to Purdue, where we stayed in probably a $10 a night motel.
Yeah.
And ate hot dogs.
And Curtis, since you're still warmed up, I'm just going to jump in, and I'm going to ask just a question, because we're in the interest of time. If you could think about and tell us what was your most memorable experience as being part of the Bucknell golf program, and we'll just kind of go in reverse order. So if you could kick it off, that would be awesome.
Sure. Well, obviously for us, it was getting to play in the NCAAs. You know, the university gave us $50 and said, go ahead and go if you want. We'll pay your entry fee. And of course, we were all going to go. I mean, that was an opportunity. Now, as you know, I talked the last time I was on with you guys. I grew up in Ohio. Jack Nicklaus and I are exactly the same age. He's actually a month older than I am. I played against him in high school, in state juniors and the state high school tournaments. And the last time I ran into him I was running the volunteers for the minor tour up in Greenville, South Carolina. And as that, I could basically go where I wanted. And he was playing, he had built a couple of courses there. So he ended up, he was playing with his son, Steve. And Steve hit a bad shot on a par 5. And he said, well, you got to hit another one. I think you're out of bounds up there. And I said, no, he was right near me. I said, I know where it is. It's up in the mulch up there. And he came over and I said, I've heard Mull played against you in high school and in college. And he said, well, where did you play against me in college? He said, where did you go to school? I said, Bucknell University. He kind of looked at me funny and he said, well, when did I play there with you? I said, well, I played in the NCAAs in 61. And he looks at me and he says, 61. Well, we didn't do very well, but I won. And he walked away.
Yep.
So that's classic Jack Nicklaus, if you had any contacts with him.
So Bob, Etsy, if you would tell us what your most memorable experience was at with the golf program.
Well, of course, it was going out to the NCAAs with Kurt and everyone, but also we were successful in some of the tournaments, and we played some in rainstorms, and always enjoyed going to Navy though and playing at Navy. That was one of our best experiences, to be have a chance each year to eat with the midshipmen and really see the quality of play they have. We would come off a winter and not even hit a golf ball, and we'd play that was our first match. We would play dual matches then, and we would always play Navy as our first match. Of course, they would come from the South and have gone through training and everything, and here we are. We haven't even hit a golf ball. The only golf ball we hit was, I think Kurt was with us when one year we had our own car. Our stopped in York, played golf at our course in York on the way to Navy, and when we got to Navy, we just happened to mention that we had car trouble before we got to the final match in the Navy. So that was our spring training.
Nice. Bob, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I'll mention just two things of memorabilia. You guys have maybe seen this, Jack, you haven't, but that was a memorable time with our team to experience with Arnold Palmer when he came to Bucknell, and we had a great time with that day.
That was May 10th, 1967.
There you go.
Are you sure, Brad?
I got it right here.
And we stood on the hill there on 10, 11, 12, 13.
It was on 12.
12. And get balls across the water. Remember that, Brad?
Yep.
And the trees were about 3 feet high over there, and he'd hit them out over the old. So anyhow, that was very memorable. But one of the other things I'll mention, Jack, and I hope this means something to you, but Etz mentioned Navy. And one of my greatest golf lessons was a match with Navy. We took, Bucknell took all the teams down there, baseball team, I forget what else. And it rained so hard, they said no one can play except the golfers. So we had a rain umbrella up from the first tee to the last green. And on the last green, I had about a 5-foot putt maybe to tie my match. And I missed it. And I threw my putter. And that lesson and after I did that, I looked at that and I said, this is not appropriate. Golf is better than that. And I have never thrown a club since that day. But that, speaking about memorable events, playing 18 holes in a downpour was memorable. But a life lesson learned.
There you go. Lowell, how about you? What's your fondest memory experience here at Bucknell?
Well, I have too, really, and winning the MACs down at Bedford Springs in '67, I guess was big. It was big being coached by Harold and then Brad, Harold Evans, and then Brad, traveling to the other schools and playing courses like Aronimink and Philadelphia courses, Saucon Valley, Lancaster, Annapolis. It was all great. So that was pretty good, doing all of those things, and playing in the match play events like we played. The dual or try matches seemed to be more mental, as there was strategy on every shot. Guys don't do that now. They play medal play tournaments mostly, but I think match play levels the field. And in match play, basically, you're never out of the fight. And one slightly different memory, I don't know if Brad will remember this. Well, Brad remembers everything, so he probably knows what club I hit on the 6th hole in the 3rd round. But anyway, a slightly different memory was showing up at Saturday morning at 8 o'clock of house party weekend. You don't have a tournament Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I mean, give me a break. So I started it off by throwing up behind the first tee and teeing off in total silence, disgusting looks from Pro Harold and Coach Brad, but ending up winning both matches. And there's another reason that you never are out of the fight. So I'm not recommending that to anyone, but Jack, no, I don't recommend any of that. Unless it's your last match of the last year.
Yeah.
I've got to interject for Lowell really helped make the beginning of my coaching career a success. The first match, it was a try match with Albright and F&M down at Lancaster Country Club. And we beat Albright something like, in those days we played 6 3-point match plays. Each guy had a 1-point Nassau. And we beat Albright 17-1 or something like this. But F&M was tied 9-9, and the conference rules for breaking a tie were the 2 number 1 men played off, and Lowell won the playoff, and so we won that 10-9. Good start.
George,
Brad, you'll remember I lost the Navy on the same thing on the first hole at Bucknell. I'm sure you remember that.
Yep.
Too. The second hole, the guy buried the hole.
Lowell, one more thing. That conference championship, we won it at Bedford Springs. It was 36 holes in one day. Play 4 guys, count all 4. And it was Lowell, Ted Turner, Bob Kotz, and Bob Cheek. And 3 of the guys were Kappa Sigs and Ted's at Phi Gam next door. Didn't we go back to the Kappa Sig house and drink beer out of the MAC trophy, Lowell?
That's what we did. Absolutely. Okay. And I finished in the dark.
Yeah, right. That was 53 years ago, guys. That was great.
George, if you could add to that list of memorable experiences.
Yeah, you covered a couple of mine already. The first was the Turnpike experience that we talked about was certainly one of them, Bob. Another one was that day with Arnold Palmer, and then he spoke that evening at the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame at Davis Gym. And there was a reception up at Jay Mathias's house. That was quite a day.
Yeah.
Also the picture, I've got the picture hanging on my wall. I saw 2 of you show the picture. I've also got it here in this room with me. But 2 other quick ones. In my sophomore year, I was coming out of the side door of Olin Science building on the hill. And Harold stopped by in the car and rolled his window down. Said, I'd like you to play next week against F&M. Would you do it? And that was my very first match that I played my sophomore year. So I remember that. And then in my senior year, it was probably 11 o'clock, maybe 12 o'clock in the morning at the Sigma Chi house. I was asleep in the upper berth of bunk beds, and Brad comes in and wakes me up and asked me if I want to play in the MAC tournament, the Mid-Atlantic Conference tournament, the following week up at Williamsport Country Club. He knew I knew that course inside and out. And so that was, I probably had a couple drinks the night before, Brad, I'm not sure, but for some reason I was still asleep at noon.
Outstanding. Well, I don't want to be selfish here, but if I could ask the group, what advice you might give to me as the head coach going forward. I mean, you've followed me. I've sent you my updates for the last 6 years. Just kind of give me your thoughts on where you think the program's going, and any advice you might want to impart to me at this young age that I'm at.
Keep getting 6'5" guys, coach.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a lot of those.
Can't teach size. Actually, Peter's younger brother may be coming next fall. He's
really?
applied ED1, and he's, Pete's about 6'4.5", and his younger brother John has him by about an inch and a half. So I've got another one coming in, and
how tall is Jason?
Jason's 6'5", right on the nose.
You guys should see these guys. They look like a basketball team.
They do. They don't play like a basketball team, but they look like a basketball
I play
team.
golf. And I guess I hope you guys all know one of the top player in the team now is won the Pennsylvania Amateur in 2019.
Yep,
Chris
sure
Tanabe.
Sure did.
Lowell, you mentioned being president of the Maine Golf Association. I guess maybe I knew that, but and maybe you know that last year, 2019, Chick Wagner was president of Pennsylvania Golf Association, and Todd Pike was president of the Metropolitan Golf Association. So that's really great that 3 alumni within the space of 10 years have been presidents of state or big associations. That's really neat.
It's pretty cool.
Mike, one of the things I would suggest is to do things like this. This is wonderful to help connect the players. I haven't seen these guys for 50 years, something like that, other than Brad. And so I think that's good. I would invite us back, like last year ago, October, we had that event. I thought that was a way to connect and see people again. I would encourage the golfers to join the Bucknell Golf Club once they graduate as out-of-town members. It doesn't cost much. I'm still a member. I've been a member basically my whole life, even though it didn't get up there this year. But I think there are things like that kind of connect us and pull us back in. And I think that will end up paying dividends for in the long run and for us.
Great idea. Great idea. Lowell,
Hey.
I'm sorry, Brad, did you want to add something?
Just before I forget, Sears, you weren't on earlier. I mentioned these guys. Shaddy lost his wife about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I heard that. I'd actually talked to Bob some time ago. Actually, I talked to his wife because I was head of the alumni, 62 alumni fundraising. Okay. And that's when I had talked to her. And I knew he lived down there in, I think it was a Daytona, or was it?
Yeah, Daytona. And I hadn't seen either one of them in the whole time I've been here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I said I hadn't. That's the one I had talked to him. And Bob, it's interesting. I ran into Bob. I was playing a member guest at Caves Valley, and Bob was with another bunch of guys, and he was sitting at another table, and he got it closest to the hole award. And I said, that guy can't play. How the heck did he do that? Where did he hit a driver? And he's looking over, who is that guy? And then I went over and we talked afterwards. Bob, you remember that?
Oh yeah. I used to played a lot at Caves Valley for a while. And that's a super course to play.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever down here, I belong at a
Hey guys,
I belong at a course called Debadoot.
Hey, before we leave, I got to show you something that some of you haven't. Can you see what's over my shoulder?
Hogan.
Hogan.
Yeah, this is the picture that's just outside my head. That's Hogan with his caddy standing next to him. This is the shirt here. This is the scorecard, and these are the 3 balls he played the last 9 holes in the 1956 U.S. Open.
Some good history right there. Before we shut it down,
Well-
and I'll just throw this out to the group, is there anybody else that wanted to add something about just some advice for the head coach going forward? And
I think you're doing a great job, Coach. All the guys know how to play golf. They have great grades, so there's no issues there. I
nope.
think just keep providing the motivational and moral support. You're the caddy. You're integral to the team and the win. I'm going to send you this thing in the mail. Maybe you've already got it, but you can remind them of David Forgan's Golfer's Creed in 1899. He was the guy that was born in St. Andrews, Scotland. He was a world-renowned banker, golfer, and storyteller. And Brad probably knows of this guy, maybe. The main character of his little talk was that golf is a game of character and leadership descends from character. I think that's important to pass on to these guys. And he also wrote, golf affords the chance to play the man and act the gentleman. It's an opportunity for courtesy, kindness, and generosity to an opponent. Most of your players and student athletes may not make it to the PGA Tour, but they'll all be able to make it to a lifetime sport, as others have mentioned, and pass it on to others. I think the other thing that was really touching was when you sent out the Memorial Day message about Operation Anaconda. I have Navy SEAL friends who were around that operation and knew very well of that operation and knew Chappie, knew those guys. And since so few of the guys probably will ever experience the military, I think it's incumbent on us who have shared it. I grew up in a military, Army, Air Force family, and share these things with them. As you said, Chappie was never out of the fight, and neither should they be in golf or in life. And I think that's important for them to have that passed on to them.
That's great, Lowell.
My players have alternately carried different names on their bags, and if I recall correctly, Jack carries a man by the name of Dave Green on his
Yep.
bag, and Dave was a very, very good friend of mine who lost his life in Iraq in 2004. And the people that I picked from the players to carry their names on their bags, usually it's some kind of personal connection, not always, but in this case it was. I served with Dave for a number of years before he went on to a different unit, and ultimately the unit he was flying for when he was shot down in Iraq. And I always remember the date, July 28th, 2004. It adds some perspective to these guys' experience here, knowing that, I'm never going to get mad at them for hitting a bad shot. It's just a shot, and that's all that matters. But, how they handle themselves as a human being and as a gentleman on the course, and even on and off the course, is much more important to me than how they do on any given hole or any given tournament. And I think they all know that. And it's been one of the proudest things that I've done since I've been here, for sure.
Coach, I'd just like
Well,
to
next
say-
time we get together, we can go into our my golf experience in Vietnam. So I won't go into that right now, but it was an interesting thing.
Nice. Love to hear that
You
story.
guys have all helped to make my relationship with Bucknell special. So much more than just a place where I worked. Even and coach, who I didn't work with and have knew the latest of any of you guys. We've had a great relationship thus far, and I just want to say how much I appreciate everything how you guys have been intertwined in my life over the years.
Pleasure. Our pleasure.
I have a question. Who's got the fastest swing in the world?
Oh, I do.
No, the backswing. That's George. It's his backswing that's the fastest.
That's what hurt his shoulder. That's why his shoulder's bad.
Oh, but I used to be able to play the game a little bit.
You did, I'll say. Yeah.
But,
Well, Brad was the first the guy that went with us on he had just come to Bucknell in 62, I think, maybe 61.
I came in 59, but
well, you traveled with us up. I remember up to Colgate and Cornell when we played up there.
no, Colgate and
that
Syracuse.
was the first. Syracuse, that's right.
Yep.
Because yeah, that's correct. And that was the first time I ever had a beer, because I was 19 or 20. I don't remember that, and I hadn't had a beer till then. And it was a hot day, and I said, "Man, that's going to taste good."
Hey, New York State was still 18 then. And the Syracuse match, the Syracuse team that year was coached by a grad assistant by the name of Jim Boeheim. So I'm 1-0 against him.
Yeah.
That
Todd,
was when
did you-
Gio went with us, right, Kurt?
Yeah, Gio was a fill-in.
Yeah, Ron Giordano. Some guys, we were in finals and everything. Football player, quarterback, 5'8", 5'9". Played a little golf. He played seventh man, and so the two seventh men match play, they teed off first, and so everybody in the team had to watch him. That's the much more nervous on that opening tee shot than he was as a quarterback against Delaware or anybody else.
Well, he was left-handed too.
Yep.
Hey, gentlemen, I'd love to talk longer, but we've got another meeting on the backside of this. So I'm going to send it back to Todd Newcomb, and he'll wrap things up. But I want you to know how much I appreciate everybody getting on tonight and sharing your experiences. And it's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thanks, Mike. And first, I want to turn my attention to Jack. And Jack, thank you for taking the time out to be on the call. I know you got through the fall semester, one semester down, and across that this spring, you're going to be out on that course behind me playing some competitive golf. If all things go well, we'll hope for that. I know as student athletes, you guys have all missed the competitive edge you usually have in the competition that you get to take part in. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. And to the alums and Brad, thank you guys so much for making the time to be on the call tonight, to reconnect, to share all your stories. Thank you for what you did while you were here as members of the Orange and Blue and members of the golf program. But more importantly, thank you for what you've done for Bucknell since you've left. The support of our alumni can't be understated. It's really what makes our student athletes go and our programs go. And we wouldn't be able to do the things we do for our more than 750 student athletes without your support. So again, thank you for that. And for those of you who tuned in at home to watch tonight, thank you for doing so. And go Bison.
Go Bison.